Hey Dweller, welcome to the live stream. Where are you from? Let me know if the audio is okay, if you can hear me all right. I've had a few complaints that these earphones don't work too well. Perfect timing. So I'm just going to wait a little bit, see if anybody else comes on. Then I'll just quickly talk a little about meditation. Basically, I'm just going to sit and do my own meditation, and everybody can do what feels right to them. But I will just say a few things if anybody wants an idea on what to meditate on or whatever. Yeah, definitely the best thing to do during a flare-up. And the thing is, it can often be, it's the best thing to do, but it can be difficult to really take that time to sit and meditate. I remember that's how it was for me. Like, so often during a flare-up, you just want to distract yourself. So yeah, that's what the idea for this was. Even for myself now, like, if you just commit, if everybody has a shared intention, right? So if someone sees me going online meditating, then it's easier for you to be like, okay, well, I'll just go meditate as well. And then for me as well, I'm sitting here, I know there's other people with me, so I think it can really help. So it doesn't look like, it looks like there's 3 people and then there's one person. So I'm going to get started. So basically, anybody's welcome to meditate whatever feels right for them. But just to describe what I'll probably be doing, at the moment for me, yes, it was so difficult. Yeah, well done. That can be tough. That's sitting in silence and feeling the symptoms. It can be tough, but yeah, like what would really happen for me is the more, like, the closer you get to the actual symptoms, like the thing that you really don't want to feel, the more willing you are to feel it. So you take the time. So you say, I'm going to sit with this and just feel whatever I need to feel. The closer you get to it, the more you realize that it's not as bad as what you thought it was. Like, essentially, it was the running away from it, the resistance that was so uncomfortable. As soon as you just completely are willing to feel it, it's like it's quite a relief. So yeah, if you can do that during a flare up and just really take some time to sit and just feel what you need to, it's can really change it a lot. Yeah, because it's really just that that resistance. That's what's uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, cool. So for the meditation, I think I'm just going to set like a timer on my phone for 10 minutes, start with a 10-minute meditation. And for me at the moment, it's really just sitting with whatever I don't want to feel. So any resistance, it's just like, can I go deeper and deeper into that? And yeah, it really helps to notice thoughts as well. So if you just like noticing a thought as a thought, because it's very easy to get caught up in thoughts. So that's what I say is really the power of meditation, is when you seeing a thought as a thought, and then you can just let it go, and then you go back to like your direct experience. So you can do it whether you're meditating on the breath. If you like, the way a lot of people will start with meditation is focusing on a specific object. So it can be sensations in the body, it can be focusing on your breath. That's how I started, was long periods of meditation, just focusing on the breath, and then focusing really intently on the sensations of the breath, and then getting caught up in thoughts, and then, oh, that's a thought. Let me go back to the meditation object, and just keep on repeating that. That's a thought. Let me go back to the meditation object. So that's just an idea. Yeah, you can visualize the thought dissolving, but you'll notice if you notice a thought and then you try to get close to that thought, right? So you can be sitting there and then it's like, this has been 5 minutes. Or like, how much longer is this? I'm feeling quite uncomfortable. I want to get up and move or something. Okay, that's a thought. So, and it's like, so you can start with a lot of mind wandering, where you go down the road and you only notice it's a thought later. But at whatever point you notice it's a thought, then just, there's different things you can do. But if you really just try to get close to that thought, so like, okay, that's a thought. Well, what is it made of? What does it feel like? It will kind of dissolve on its own. So you don't necessarily need to visualize the thought dissolving. You can just notice the thought as a thought and orient towards it. So, because that can be an important thing as well, because often we'll orient away from thoughts. So you notice a thought as a thought, and then it's very easy to start resisting thoughts, because it's like, I shouldn't be having thoughts. I'm trying to meditate. There's a thought. Damn, okay, get rid of that. Let's go back to the breath or whatever. Whereas if you go towards thoughts, you can be like, okay, there's a thought. What is this thought? Like, where is it? You can say, where is it? And then it kind of disappears. And then maybe there's the next thought saying, it didn't disappear. It's still here. But that's not that thought. That's a new thought. So yeah, just noticing a thought as a thought. If you get caught in mind wandering, that's fine. At some point you will realize, maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can realize, oh, there's a thought. Okay, let's orient towards it. So there's many different ways you can do it, but noticing thoughts as thoughts is probably the most powerful, because it can get really interesting if you keep doing this. If you really keep noticing a thought as a thought, then it can be like, well, what isn't a thought? Because that's a thought as well. So you can be sitting there, okay, that's a thought. I'm going to notice the next thought. Oh, that's a thought as well. What's not a thought? Oh, that's also a thought. And it can get really interesting. So yeah, experiment with that and see how it goes. Cool. So I'm gonna set a time on my phone, and we can chat again in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And yeah, feel free if you have any questions. It looks like it's just us at the moment, so if anybody else joins, let me do the timer. Yeah, and just meditating with a timer, I found it helps a lot, because you're committing from the beginning. Let me set this up. Right, so when I first started meditating for long periods of time, like if I wanted to sit for 30 minutes and meditate, Without a time, it would be difficult because like after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you think like, oh, okay, it's been quite a while now. I think I'm going to get up. Whereas if you set a timer, you're just going to sit there until the timer goes, and you can notice any time you want to get up. Oh, that's a thought. So yeah, just meditating with a timer can be really, really helpful. Well, I found it. Okay, so 10 minutes. I will start the timer now. It did go quick, yeah. Yeah, I was surprised when the timer went. Just check my timer's working properly. But 10 minutes isn't such a long period of time. I suppose it's all relative. But yeah, when meditating for longer periods of time can be really powerful, because it just gets quieter and quieter. That's when I started making a lot of progress with my recovery, when I would start sitting for like 30 minutes or longer. Because just I don't want to talk too much in case anybody's busy meditating at the moment. We'll do another session now, maybe 15 minutes. I'm definitely keen to do some more. But what I want to say about sitting for longer periods is, initially for me, the beginning periods could be the most difficult. Maybe the first 5-10 minutes, and then the longer you sit for, like you often don't, like if you keep stopping at 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you don't get to what you can get to if you sit for another half an hour. Just sitting for that little bit longer, the mind quietens even more, I suppose. But I always say start with where you're at, because if you considering sitting for half an hour and it sounds like something you can't do, then just sit for 10 minutes. Anything. I've already started trying to do more. Nice. Yeah, like that's what I find with the long ones, where you can sit for an hour. Like as soon as you get past like the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, then it just because you stop processing time, essentially, because to keep track of time we have to be in thoughts, right? You have to be thinking, oh, I've been here for 5 minutes, how long have I been here for? Thinking about past and future. Whereas if you just keep sitting, going deeper and deeper, you really have to be referencing a thought. You can notice, like, oh, I wonder how much longer. Oh, that's just a thought. Let it go. So yeah, sitting for long periods can be really, really great, especially if you're able to do it. And that's what I found with when you're struggling with a chronic illness and there's not a lot of stuff you can do, then just embrace it. Like I literally remember I was living on my own. One day I was having a really bad flare up or something, and I was like, there's literally nothing stopping me from just sitting for like 2 hours straight and meditating or something like that, and then getting up and doing something and then going back to it. And it's often going to be the most helpful thing for you. So yeah. Cool. So I'm going to do another one. I see there's a few more people on. If anybody has any questions before we go, feel free to ask. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. I'll start it in a few minutes. I'll just wait to see if anybody has any questions. But yeah, just feel free to meditate, whatever feels the most comfortable for you, whatever's working for you. Just go with that. All right, I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes, and then I will come back and see if anybody has any questions after that. All right, starting now. So just answering your question, Dwella. So when I was before I started meditating a lot, there was a lot of distraction. So in the early stages, when I was mostly housebound, that was when it was pretty uncomfortable because I was meditating now and then, but a lot of the time I would, be listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos. I At one stage I was doing a lot of online trading, which was not good for me because that was really stressful. So yeah, I had to give all of that up, and like that's in some of my videos where I talked about where I hit rock bottom, and I just had to be honest with myself and do what I needed to. That's when I moved to go live on my own, and that's when I started meditating a lot. And then around that time, I would try to spend a lot of time in nature. So I would go, drive. I lived in a really nice area with like close to a mountain and then close to the ocean as well. So sometimes I just go drive down to the beach and go, sit on the beach or whatever. And then sometimes I, go sit somewhere nice in nature. And then the rest of the time I was trying to cook for myself, meditating, reading reading books about meditation, listening to podcasts. But like the focus of my interest started to change, so it became less intellectual. At one point, it was really I was really into philosophy and science, and I still find that interesting. But I realized that that was too intellectual. Like what I was actually looking for was less conceptual. You can talk about everything in thoughts, or you can look into your direct experience, and that's where you'll actually find what you're looking for. So like to be honest, when I started to really just hone in on meditating, watching videos that really resonated with me, finding teachers online that really resonated, and then it wasn't just meditation, it's similar practices. So like something called self-inquiry, which is like investigating the sense of being of a self, the sense of me, the experiencer, which is a really powerful practice as well. And then as I started to get better and be less scared of the symptoms, then I could go out more. Then I started cycling again, exercising more, and then eventually just starting to reintegrate with life again. So, and there were still ups and downs at those stages, but I'd learned to accept the symptoms, and so maybe I'd do something just outside of the zone of what I'd become comfortable in, and there'd be a little bit of a flare up. So like going and socializing with people the whole day or something like that. But then just more and more, just less fear, accepting everything as it happened, and realizing that that I could do anything, and the symptoms weren't something to be scared of anymore. So that's kind of a summary of the different parts of my recovery, I suppose. Cool, Dweller. Yeah. Yeah, I also went through a period where I started to do more. Yeah, it's difficult because the thing is, it's a lot of it's out of your control. So you don't know how much of a flare up you're going to have from doing something, but you like stepping out and doing things that you used to be scared of, and that you used to tell yourself, I can't do that. And then that's the first step, is right. So doing that. So maybe you have just as bad a flare up as you always used to have, but it's addressing that fear. So it's like, and you can't control the flare up you're going to have. So it's the natural response afterwards is like, shit, like it's always blaming yourself. So it's like, this is how it was for me. It would be like, oh, now I've got a flare up again. Like I obviously did too much or whatnot, but that's kind of what you got to go through. You got to keep pushing, like keep stepping out and start wherever you're at. So for you, you say you're starting with doing more around the house, and maybe like cooking a meal or cleaning up or whatever it is. Like maybe that used to be too much. Now you start with doing that, and then it brings on a flare up. But now it's in those responses to the flare ups that the changes happen. So it's like in the past, the flare ups would come and then these beliefs would come up. So it'd be like, oh, I'm going to get worse. I'm going to have a crash, whatever the beliefs are. And then there's the fear of the symptoms. So like resisting the symptoms, and then that could make it worse and all of that. Whereas what I can see is, you're less scared of the symptoms, you're meditating more. So, if the symptoms come up and you're sitting with it in meditation, that's when the changes start to happen. So yeah, I just say keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, just do things and then see what happens. Because it's often our expectations of what's going to happen that is like self-reinforcing. So if I do this, I know what's going to happen, but you don't actually know what's going to happen. And maybe you thought, I'm going to have a crash. If I do that, you do it and you have a crash. That's fine. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have done that. It's not like, oh, I'm going downhill, I'm getting worse. Those beliefs are what keeps everyone stuck. It's like you just keep on getting smaller. So if you, the most important is like, obviously start small, push your boundaries, and then if you're able to, like you said to me earlier, where you sat with the symptoms during the flare up, that's brilliant. That's all you got to do, and then and the more you do that, the beliefs will start to change. So then next time you go play golf with your kids, you're like, okay, I had a flare up, which was pretty bad, but I didn't die. It's not like I'm going downhill fast. It's like I meditated and I could sit with the symptoms. And as I was saying earlier, the more you can sit with the symptoms, the less of a the closer you get to the symptoms, the more you realize it was avoiding the symptoms that was the problem. So the next time you go play crazy golf, it's like, okay, well, if I crash, I can deal with it. And you can be scared. You can be like, I don't want to feel those flare-ups, but like I've said in some of my other videos, it's like, just notice that and accept that then. So like, okay, there's fear, that's fine. And yeah, I'd say it sounds like you're doing well. Like, yeah, you can't control the flare-ups, when they're going to happen, how bad they're going to be, and that's also another massive part of recovery, is not trying to control anymore, just accepting that you don't have any control, because you really don't. It's like, did any of us choose for this to happen? It's all just acceptance, and it's all that trying to control experience. Like, I'm going to make symptoms disappear, and that, for me, like if I'm thinking when things were the worst for me, it was like, I remember like, okay, I really don't want these symptoms to be here, so I'm going to do whatever I can to get rid of them. But that wasn't possible. I couldn't control that, and it was really a lot of resistance, because I was really trying to get rid of the symptoms and I couldn't. And then that's what just drove this really bad suffering. Like, I can't do this. until eventually I learned to just sit with it. Yeah. You're welcome, Jessica. Yeah. The thinking of I'm getting worse, it is difficult to get through, but it's again, it's all about belief. Everything sounds I'm not sure if you can hear me. My computer's frozen. Okay, there we go. So everything sounds the same. Sounds so much the same as my experience. I think it's the same for a lot of us. So yeah, that's why I'm glad to hear it resonates. Yeah, I've actually considered doing that coaching. I'm trying to get a website up, but setting up a website is a mission. So, but yeah, I'm quite keen to do something like that, to do one-on-one sessions with people and just talk it out, point them. Because yeah, a lot of the time it's quite obvious to me. Just like seeing people's comments on my videos and stuff, now I can see something that's keeping somebody stuck just from my own experience. So it's like, yeah, I can see that. So I definitely I would be very interested in doing coaching. So keep an eye out. I'm I'm trying to get that set up. Yeah, but yeah, in the meantime, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them on this live stream, on any of my videos. And then yeah, I will try set up some one-on-one sessions where you can book me for an hour or something, and we can just chat about your situation. So I'll put something on my YouTube channel when I've got that up. I'll put a link to all of that. But yeah. So yeah, if anybody else has any questions about anything at all, meditation, recovery, feel free to pop it in the chat. I'll give us a few minutes to see if anybody does. Otherwise, we can do another meditation, another 15 minutes maybe. Yeah, I'm still gonna sit and meditate. So if there's no questions, then we'll carry on with that. But I'll give it a few minutes to see if anybody has anything or anything you want to share. Just feel free. It's all open. Okay, so Jessica, does your employer, co-workers, closest folks know about your experience? How did you approach that conversation in re-entry? So yeah, I'll just explain what that was like for me. Obviously, it's going to be different for everyone, but what kind of happened is I had to take time off from everything completely. So like I was at university, I had a job, I was living like, so I moved back home to live with my parents. I took time away from university. I told the people that I was working for. Luckily, I had quite a good relationship with them. I knew them quite well, and my job was a seasonal job, so um, it was for like 4 or 5 months of the year when I wasn't studying. So, anyways, I just completely stopped everything because my initial approach to this whole thing from reading online was like, you have to stop doing everything that makes your symptoms worse. You have to rest completely. And that was because that was early on, and that was the only thing that made sense about recovery. So, like I didn't have any other ways to approach this. I saw people. Everybody said just rest. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So yeah. So basically, I completely just stopped university. I stopped working. I went to go live at home, but that didn't help. It was. I think it was necessary though. I needed to get out of the life where I was doing what I felt I should be doing. So like, okay, I should be doing my studies. I should be doing this. I need to be doing this. Like, to where I had the space. And it took me a while because at first when I moved back home and I was doing nothing, it got really difficult for like a few months. But then eventually it gave me the space to like, I just can now do what I need to. Like, I don't need to do what people think I should be doing, or and it took me a while to get there. Like, at first it was like so much fear about going against the usual social way of doing things. So it was like, it's been 6 months since I was at university. I have no future prospects of a job. I have no close relationships at the moment. It was like all this fear about my future. And then all this like planning. I remember a lot of the time I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to study something else. And I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I couldn't do that. Like, I would, distract myself by imagining things I could do in the future. But at the same time, I knew like I wasn't able to do that. Like, I was housebound, or like not completely housebound. I could go for short walks, but I was still really struggling. And then I was, trying to plan for a future that I couldn't do. And then eventually when I just gave all that up, so I was fortunate enough to be able to go live, living on my own. There was a flat that I was able to stay in, and that's when I just completely did what I need to, and then was just focusing on meditation. But I only did that for a couple of months, and then I had to, then I started reintegrating. So then moving back, well, then I came to move back home because the job that I was doing is the easiest place was to stay with my parents. So anyways, and I came to live with my parents again, but now I was reintegrating with the world because, I kind of recovered, or was, in the process of just pushing myself. And I knew that it didn't matter if I got symptoms anymore. And then everything kind of started falling away. And then life just became back to normal. Then I was exercising again. I went back to work. I haven't gone back to study because that doesn't appeal to me at the moment. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of, it was initially just like completely stepping away from everything. And I was fortunate enough to have, people to stay with when I wasn't able to support myself. So I wasn't working. I had a place to stay. I had, but it was stressful. It really was. Like, I wanted, it was really difficult having to rely on other people, and it was like scary and stuff. But eventually I just started trusting that things would work themselves out, and they did. So yeah, as I said, I think it's going to be different for everyone. Like, everyone's just in such different situations. Some people have families they need to provide for, so they'll maybe have to continue working, and it's just just got to find. That's why I say it's a very personal journey. You've got to find your own way. Like, and also what everybody needs to do is unique to them. So I needed to step away from a lot of things because I was doing a lot of things that weren't authentic to me. So like what I was studying because it seemed like a good idea financially, and it was a safe option, but it wasn't really what I was interested in. And I'd been considering stepping away for a long time, but I just didn't have the balls to do it. I was like, oh, just be safe and continue it. Whereas when this happened to me, it was like everything was falling apart in my life. So it was like, well, now I have to do what's most important to me. I can't any longer do what seems like a good idea to other people. So it was like, I have to give up their studies. It doesn't matter what that looks like to people. You know, stepping away in my final year, I only had a few courses left, but I was like, I have to do this. And then I was in a relationship that I had to end, which I'd known for a long time. But before that, I didn't have, again, like, I wasn't able to do it. Whereas then eventually I was like, I have to do this. I have to step away. And all of that. So it became like more trusting myself and being more authentic. It was like deep down, I knew things I needed to address. So, yeah. Glad to hear you'll be joining me for some more meditation, Dwella. Yeah. Yep, I'd agree. That's also what helped me like to turn around towards recovery was you notice the common themes if you watch a lot of recovery stories. You notice, yeah, it was exactly that. You start to pick up on there's a different attitude towards it as well. And yeah, acceptance, reducing stress, relaxing the nervous system, removing stimulus, and then reintegration. And yeah, I'd add to that just becoming authentic, like just being honest with yourself and following like your instincts. Like if something really resonates, follow that. That's for me as well. Like I started meditating, and then I went on a meditation retreat, and I really just started orienting towards what felt important to me, as opposed to trying to do what would create a certain image of me. Mm. Yeah, I can relate, Jessica. Yeah, you can't plan your way, you can't plan your way through this. That's the surrender. Um, that's for me, like accepting and surrendering. Like I can't do this. Um, it can be powerful, it can be scary. Um, it's like you get to a place, or I got to a place where I knew that I couldn't plan my way out of this. I couldn't do live the perfect, you know, dealing with symptoms and avoiding symptoms in the perfect way that I never had to crash again. It was just surrendering like to the symptoms, to the present moment. Um, that was the most powerful. And letting go, yeah, just letting go of any way that life should be. Um, this shouldn't be happening. I should be doing this. It's just like this is what's happening, and then I can either fight it and suffer because this is what's happening, and or I can either surrender to it. And the only way you can find out what happens when you surrender to it is to go there. So, but it's really it's um, it's powerful because once you accept and just let whatever wants to be there be there, you realize what was the problem all along, and it wasn't the symptoms or the emotions, it was the resistance. But you can't think that. You can't have the symptoms and then think, oh, if I just welcome the symptom, it will go away. You just have to surrender to it. I'm in meditation and really listening to people who've like teachers that talk about this can really help point you there. There's a lot of people on YouTube that with some powerful pointing. So if anybody is interested in that, I can definitely recommend people. Jay Snow, hi Jay, welcome to the stream. What are your thoughts about all the expensive programs out there? So yeah, expensive brain retraining programs. I know there's a lot of I remember when I first heard people recovering from brain retraining programs, and then looking into it myself, it's controversial, right? Because some people recover really quickly, but then if you look on some forums, there's a lot of people that have a lot of negative things to say. So what I would say is, I think the programs are good, and a lot of times the negativity around them is out of you know what it is? It's questioning the identity of people who are, I don't know. It's like, how do I say this? Because I was there myself. So when you identify as the one who is sick and who is stuck, who can't recover, right? So that becomes your identity. And that's what that place where you're stuck is when you really believe that is true, that you can't recover. Then people, when you're hearing like, oh, this person recovered with this program, in like a week, or I don't know, there's lots of people have a different experience, but some people recovered really quickly. And then you notice the program's expensive. So then the first thing to do is to just shit on the program. So that's what a lot of people do. You can see it out there. There's a lot of negativity towards the programs. But yeah, personally, I would say, so my own experience, I eventually did one of the programs. I did DNRS, and it was good for me to do it, because I've made a video about this where you just got to try things. You got to realize what you're doing. If you're stuck, it's not working, and you got to open yourself up and try things that you maybe normally wouldn't. And you got to realize that it's your attitude or your beliefs about something that's the most important. So if I did this DNRS program with the beliefs that, yeah, this isn't really going to work, and it's not legit, but I'm just going to try it, that's going to affect how helpful it is. And what I will say that these programs are really good at pointing out is that, I can't speak for all of them, but I looked at the Lightning Process and DNRS, and there was like an introductory book for the Lightning Process, and it's actually it was really helpful at the time. It pointed out what it can be really good at is showing how it's all about the beliefs and your reactions, and it can be really helpful to give you the help you to understand that it's maybe not just some mysterious something wrong in your body that we have to wait for some science breakthrough to heal. Actually, you can do things, and actually certain beliefs can be keeping you stuck in that. So if it's something you're interested in doing and you can afford it, then I would say try it. So I tried DNRS. It was really helpful at a certain point in my recovery. Like, it helped me to be less scared of symptoms. So like the program talks about just stuff about how neuroplasticity can lead to the brain rewiring itself in a way that can lead to symptoms because of things being perceived as threats. And then it's got like exercises you can do to address that. and the exercises can be visualization techniques. So, you know, doing something that brings on symptoms and then visualizing in your mind a time when you could do that without symptoms to try to like reassociate in the brain and all of that kind of stuff. So it can be helpful. What I found the most helpful was that it gave me a space to feel comfortable doing things that brought on symptoms. So like it would say, do something that you know will bring on slight symptoms, and then you work with that. So that was really helpful to me to have this like permission almost, or to know that, okay, I can do something that will bring on symptoms and I don't have to be scared. I'm doing this on purpose. And then what you do then, like so some of the programs are very rigid. So it's like, do these exercises for an hour a day and do it like this. So eventually I kind of got stuck in that rigidity where I just wasn't good at visualizing or whatever. So I had to let go of it. And then it was more just the meditation and the acceptance and non-resistance work. So yeah, it served me for a couple of months. And then I could have gotten stuck in that, because then it can be like a new belief, whereas if I don't do the exercises correct when I've got symptoms, then I'm not going to recover, because there's a lot of rigidity about do it this way. So yeah, that's just my experience with the programs. But I'd be saying, don't be scared to try things. And yeah, like you got to try things. So, but also I wouldn't say that it's necessary to do any of those programs to recover. So that's really important. If you've watched a lot of people recovering from those programs, but you can't afford it, then you don't need to have the belief that, well, I'm going to stay stuck because I can't afford one of those programs that are helping people. So it can be helpful if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, there's a lot of other ways to come at this. And eventually as I said, I had to find my own way. And I think it's going to be like that for everyone. So that can be a problem with some of those programs. And I haven't seen the other ones, so I don't know. But the problem can be that it's one person's way of doing things. And if it's not flexible enough, like you eventually have to find your own way. So yeah, there's definitely, they can be helpful, but they're not necessary. It's not the only way to recover. And yeah, I'm going to try and put out as much free stuff on my YouTube channel to help you find your own way. So just stuff that worked for me that anybody can apply to themselves. But read books, do programs if it appeals to you, and if you can afford it, it's no harm. All right. Will the video be on your channel? I just joined. I want to re-listen to it. Yeah, absolutely. I think I can post it, post the recording, or I'm pretty sure it will be. So you can go back and meditate when the time suits you. So yeah, anybody that has missed some of it, you can just find a time that works for you and run through it. Did you take anything for the anxiety and stress, or only just meditation? So I did try a lot of things initially. So that's where I had a video where I talked about diet and supplements. So the supplements, I was trying to find a lot of things to deal with the anxiety and stress. So I was taking like L-theanine and magnesium and any kind of natural supplements that I could do research on and find that it helped with stress. And I was researching a lot, trying to find something. And what else? I even early on in this, I was on antidepressants because that was the first thing my doctor recommended to me when the long COVID symptoms didn't go away. Then he offered me like an SNRI to help with some of the symptoms, and that actually made things worse. So that's, maybe I'll make a video on that at some point. But I tried medication, I tried supplements, and none of that was the answer. For me, that was more like a quick fix, looking for something that was going to take me away from facing what I needed to. So I didn't want to sit and face everything I needed to. I wanted to find something that could take it away. So yeah, when I really dealt with my anxiety and my stress, it was through meditation. meditation, taking away, something that's really helpful is just to realize that you don't need to, like, this can sound, I don't know how this sounds, but it was like insights I had where it was like, I don't need to get stressed about something. It's not serving me any purpose at all. And obviously it's like you sometimes can't just stop it. But so I don't know, like, if it was because of all the meditation I was doing, and it probably was, but eventually I just realized that it was when I became more aware of my reactions in the moment, right? So something would be happening, and let's say, just an example that came to mind, when I was starting to get a bit better, I was in the garden with my brother, and we were just hitting a hockey ball, and then he broke one of the windows with the hockey ball, and my parents were really upset. And I was like, well, I can react in this situation. I can get upset or defensive or whatever, or there's a broken window that needs to be fixed. And what's the best way to do this is just calmly and do the job. So it was like, okay, we've got to fix the broken window. Like, getting angry and fixing the broken window just makes my life worse. And yeah, I think obviously meditation was what allowed that level of awareness where you can be aware of your reactions and then just let go of the reactions that don't work. So yeah, like, eventually it was just like, there's what's happening. Okay, so whatever the stressful event is, there's shit going on at work, or something bad has happened, and we can do what needs to be done. So like, either there's something you can do about it or there isn't. So whatever it is, maybe you get fired from work, or just some extreme examples. Maybe there's steps you can take to deal with this. Maybe there isn't. If there is, then just do it. If there isn't, then just accept it, and then just work on noticing your reactions. And you don't need to get rid of any reactions. It's not like there's anything that's bad. So like, noticing your anger or stress arising in a certain situation, just accept it, just notice it. So I don't know if that helps. That's just kind of something that really helped me. And now I really don't get stressed about anything, because it just seems so futile. It's like, there's what's happening, and then what's the point in getting stressed about it? Maybe there's initial stress reaction, because most of this is unconscious. It's not like you're choosing to get anxious or stressed about something. Yeah, no, absolutely, it's hard to let it go. But what I will just say is, just in every moment that you notice it, you're becoming less unconscious. So if you notice the reactions happening, and you can just be aware of that, even if that time you get caught up in it. So maybe you get caught up in the stress, and then you notice, like, 5 minutes into the stress anxiety, like, oh shit, I got caught up in that. Maybe just sit and meditate for a bit or something. But the more you do that, it is making a difference. It's the only way to let go of these things is for them to come up and to be seen, right? So that's why I say flare-ups are absolutely essential in your recovery journey. It's not something bad. It's like, all these beliefs need to come up. So you need to do exercises that bring on symptoms and stress and anxiety, and then you see all that shit coming up, and then you sit with it, and all the stuff that was keeping you stuck needs to come up for you to be able to let go of it. So that's a bit of a long answer, but yeah, for me it was just sitting, accepting, and meditating that helped with stress and anxiety, I think. Yoga, I just did yoga with Adriene, her YouTube channel. She's got loads of great YouTube videos with yoga. Yeah, yoga was great because it really gets you into the body more, and then you can combine it with meditation. I would sometimes do some yoga and then sit and meditate afterwards. So yeah, that was great. Good, really feels good to stretch and do that. So I did that, and then when I went on a meditation retreat, there was yoga there, which was really cool as well. But the rest of the time, I just did online videos, and it was, yoga with Adriene. So it wasn't anything crazy. And how did you break the belief cycle? I'm kind of stuck there right now. Just like you said in the interview, like, reading a book gives me symptoms. It's really hard to break such beliefs for me. So The first thing with beliefs, I would say, is just noticing beliefs. So if you can become aware, so inquiring into your beliefs. So like if you're reading a book and you're noticing symptoms coming up, so maybe just take some time to sit and just sit with what's there, calm the mind. Then you can inquire into your beliefs. So what belief do I have about reading a book or something? And then you can say, oh, I believe that reading a book will give me symptoms. And then you can say, okay, well, what beliefs are associated with that? So then, okay, well, I believe that I've got this chronic illness that is brought on by exertion. Okay, why do I believe that? Well, I believe that other people, I originally had these symptoms, and then other people had similar experiences, and then I started having those experiences. Or can literally just be based on your past experiences. It doesn't have to be any of that. Well, every time in the past I've read a book, I've had these symptoms, so it's going to happen again. Okay, well, what belief is associated with that? Well, there's the belief that every time something happens in the past, it's going to happen again in the future. But that's just bullshit. So you can keep inquiring into your beliefs, and a belief is just a thought that you really think is true. So you can come down to like the fundamental beliefs, and it's generally like, because this has happened before, it's going to happen again. But that's not true. I used to get symptoms from reading a book. Now I can read a book and not get symptoms. I can read a book now and I can feel contraction in my body, because if I'm reading a book to distract myself to not feel what's in my body, it will feel uncomfortable. I don't have the label of chronic illness and symptoms anymore. And I know I can, like, there's no fear. Like, I can then go and cycle 100 kilometers and be fine. I'll be tired. But there's still those symptoms. There's still tension in the body when I'm pushing away something, and it's because I'm pushing away something. So again, it's that belief that what I'm feeling in my body now is a symptom of a chronic illness. It's not necessarily true. It can just be something you need to feel. So that's what happened for me. Eventually, the story of chronic illness was let go of, and it was all just about resistance and avoidance and feeling what I needed to feel. So but first things I would just say, become aware of your beliefs. And again, you can't control it. So also the fundamental belief that makes things a lot worse is believing, and this shouldn't be happening right now. So I'm reading a book. Okay, I'm feeling symptoms, and this shouldn't be happening right now. It's like, I can just feel it, and this is what's happening right now. And now I can push it away, or I can accept it. So for me, it wasn't like getting rid of symptoms so that I could do all of these things again. It wasn't like, okay, I know how to get rid of symptoms, so now I can read a book. Now I can go do this. Now I can go do that. It was like, just let the symptoms be there. If I'm reading a book and it's bringing on symptoms, well, that's what's happening. So now I've got to sit and just like not resist. And then the more you can do that, the less that just like lets go of all the beliefs, because it's all about pushing away the symptoms. If you can just let the symptoms be there, and get closer and closer to it, what am I resisting? What do I not want to feel? You realize that it was all the resistance that was the problem. So I hope that helps with beliefs. Thank you for your detailed response. You're welcome, Jay. And thank you for your work here on YouTube. It helped me a lot so far, switching my perspective of things. You're welcome. I'm really glad to hear that. Dwayne, didn't want to sit and face what I needed to face, just wanted a quick fix. That is what made me go from unwell to severely debilitated. Yeah, and it's almost like it has to go like that, because what is going to make you face what you need to face? So let's say there's what you need to face, and you can distract yourself, and you can distract yourself, and then it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And then what eventually is going to make you face it? well, you go too severely debilitated and you can't do anything else, and now you have to face it. So that's why, yeah, I had to hit rock bottom as well. It's like there was stuff that needs to be faced, and it's like you can distract yourself, but then it's not gonna. You can distract yourself, but you're gonna have to face it eventually, and it's gonna make itself. Yeah, it's gonna. The situation is gonna arise where you can't do anything but face it. So, yeah, but often it's not like you've got just these resistance patterns that play out on their own until you can't take it anymore. So that's why sometimes it has to get worse before it can get better. I've learned that nobody's going to fix me. I have to face my own problems to get past them. Yeah, that's really important as well. Because for me, for so long, what was keeping me stuck was like, if I make my story seem like, again, this was unconscious, I suppose. Like I wasn't consciously thinking, I'm going to go make my story seem so horrible that I can get sympathy from people and maybe somebody will just sort it out. It's like these unconscious beliefs that we formed where if I relate to people how bad my situation is, that's going to make it better in some way. Like telling people how I can't do anything, my life is so shit, all these symptoms are horrible, I've got this chronic illness. And at first I got a lot of sympathy, like from people I knew, there was a lot of sympathy, but it didn't fix me. It was like you can look for as much sympathy as you want, but you have to face your own problems. And again, it can take time to get to that place. For me, I had to get really bad until I realized that I was making things worse for myself by looking for sympathy. When there's symptoms and then I go complain about my symptoms, that made things worse. Whereas I've just got symptoms and then I just accepted it. That worked better. So yeah, I guess that's where acceptance comes in. Absolutely. When in doubt, accept. Thanks, it really helps. Thanks for answering. I appreciate it. You're welcome. Hipper to the hopper. Yeah, it can be difficult, but it sounds like you're on the right path, and just keep being honest with yourself. Keep being honest with yourself. Is this helping me? Why am I doing this? I'm trying to distract myself. Okay, that's fine. That's just an example. It can be anything, but becoming really authentic and honest with yourself is powerful. All right, so that was quite a few questions that we ran through there. I think it's time for another meditation. So I'm going to put another 15-minute timer on, and then we can all sit. And it's one thing to talk about all of this. It's another thing to put it into practice. So we've spoken a lot about acceptance and sitting with the sensations. So now we've got an opportunity to do that for whoever wants to join. If you're too busy, absolutely no worries. Do everything when it works for you. Okay, so I see there's a few more people online. So for anybody who wasn't here earlier, I'm just going to put a timer on for 15 minutes, and everybody can just meditate, whatever practice. If you have a current practice, just do that, whatever resonates with you. If you've got a lot of symptoms right now and it's feeling uncomfortable, then practice feeling into that. Can you feel into the body? Can you feel into what is it that you're resisting? What is it that you don't want to feel? I can even feel now, just from talking a lot, start to get a little bit of tension, a little bit out of breath. So then it's like, okay, what if I just completely relax and let anything be here? Is there something that I don't want to feel? Is there something that I'm trying to not feel? And then what happens if I just let that come? So that's a inquiry or something to sit with. Otherwise, the safest or something you can never go wrong with is meditating on your breath. So if you it's a great way, especially to start, and it's always powerful no matter how long you've been meditating for, to just sit and notice your breath, because that can make you more aware of thoughts and when you're getting caught up in thoughts. Because if you give yourself an object to meditate on, so I'm going to notice the breath and stay with the sensations of the breath, then when you're getting caught up in thoughts, you can notice, oh, I'm not with the breath. I'm caught up in thoughts, and that's fine. You don't need to judge yourself. That happens. That's literally the practice. It's not about staying with the breath for an hour and not having any thoughts. It's about, okay, that's a thought. I can see it as a thought. The content of the thought doesn't matter. Literally, the content of the thought doesn't matter. It can be, oh, I've been sitting for so long. It can be, I want to have lunch later. It can be, I hate the symptom right now. Any of that, that's a thought. Just one thought, and then go back to the breath. So that's just, you don't have to do any of that. You can literally do whatever you want. Those are just some ideas if somebody doesn't, if somebody wants something to sit with that they don't already have. For me, I just sit with just radical acceptance and surrender and letting go. What happens if I don't try to do anything at all? What happens if I don't judge anything as shouldn't be here? What happens if I don't try to make anything change the experience in any way and just let it be? And then maybe there's thoughts, and then awareness of it. So anyways, enough talking, and I will set the timer for 15 minutes, and we can talk again after that. Okay, starting now. Is the fan on my side or on your side? Because I can't hear fan. My side. Maybe it's me breathing. Yeah, I've heard this mic's not great. I might need to invest in an upgrade if I want to keep making videos. Or maybe it's your ears. Could be. Tinnitus can be great for meditating on the great objects of meditation. focusing on your heartbeat can work. Anything can be like an object of meditation, and then resting the focus on that. So like when you're focusing on your breath, it can be the rising and falling in your chest, in your stomach, the feeling of breathing in at your nose. If it's your heartbeat, it's your heartbeat. It can be the feeling of your feet on the floor. It can be the sound of tinnitus in your ears. Literally, anything can be a focus, and then just noticing when the thought comes and then when it goes. So there's two different ways. I'm sure there's many different ways to meditate, but there's like focused based meditation where you're focusing on something, and then there's like effortless meditation where you in Zen, I think they call it shikantaza. Some people call it natural meditation. It's just what if you do nothing and just sit with no agenda, not trying to make experience any way, and yeah, which can be difficult. So often it's good to start with like a focus-based practice. But what's so powerful about the effortless practice is it really stops the mind, because the mind doesn't know how to do nothing. It's like, okay, how do I do nothing? Oh, that's trying to do something. So yeah, there's different ways. It looks like there's nobody live, so I'm talking to myself at the moment. Oh, Dwell is still there. It shows here that there's no one. Yeah, that's what can be great about sitting for long periods, is you can start with like a focus point, and then you can eventually just let it go. And that can be like a great intuitive way to meditate, where you focus on the breath until, if you feel something else, just like a openness, you can just let the breath go and just follow that, and just don't try to make anything happen. Just what can be really powerful pointer is, what if I just let go of past and present? Sorry, past and future completely. Any thought about the past or the future? What's left? Who am I if I don't reference past and future? And it can help to do this while meditating, because you can do it at any time, but the rest of the time it can be very easy to get wrapped up in a thought. Oh, I know who I am. I'm this, I'm that. But yeah, that can be like where that effortless place takes you. It's just this it's so difficult to talk about, but it's just this openness. Yeah. Welcome, Alexander. We've just been doing some meditating, some Q&As, some chatting. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Yeah, I think I'll do maybe one more short meditation, and then maybe leave it there. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, we can dive into those. Also, apologies if there's any background sounds here. The rest of my family are moving around the house, so I don't know if it transfers through the earphones, but I can hear it. Actually, Matthias, teaching Alexander technique. Okay. Well then, welcome, Matthias. What is the Alexander technique? I'm curious. It's body mind work. Nice. Okay, so let's do one last sit. Doesn't look like there's any questions at the moment. So I'm going to just what I briefly spoke about. For me, just feeling into what's here if I don't reference thought, if I don't reference past or future, what's here? That's not a thought. And just feeling into that and noticing when you get caught up in a thought. Oh, that's a thought. What's primary to all thoughts? What is watching the thoughts? What is here, whether there's a thought or there isn't a thought? So, yeah, that's what I will be sitting with. And you can sit with whatever works. All right, let's do last one. 10 minutes. It's getting a bit noisy in my house. Everybody's coming home from school and work. So we'll do a quick 10-minute one, and then we'll take it from there. I'm going to start the timer now. All right. Just reading your message here, Matthias. Yeah. Sometimes we've just got to sit with the, like, even for me, there's sometimes a lot of, like, how do you put it, like, energy in the body or something that can be very difficult to sit through. And just for me, it's all about just surrender, let it be there. So if that's for you, strong jerks in the body, just let it play out. Let the disturbance be there. Just surrender to it. And nothing lasts forever. So there's times where it's a flare up, or you just got to sit through some shit. You got to face some emotions, some difficult sensations. And then there'll be times when it's calmer and maybe it feels like things are on the right path, and then it feels like everything's upside down. Just how it plays out. Just let it play out. That's my 2 cents, if it's worth anything. All right, I'm going to call it there. So thank you for everybody who joined me. I don't know how many people are live. It says 2 on my side, but earlier it said 0, and Matthias and Dwella were here, so I don't trust that. But thanks for joining me. It was very beneficial for me as well, to have people to meditate with. So it was easier. It's often easy to distract, especially now that I don't have those symptoms hanging over my head, forcing me to do the work. It can be easy. There's a lot more distractions now. But I think I'll do something like this again. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to connect with everybody that was here. And yeah, thank you for Dwella for being here throughout. Number 1 supporter. Cool. If I do more, I'll try to put I might just do it spontaneously. It was quite nice about these lives is I can just do it when I feel like it. But also I will try to maybe do one where I give a bit of warning, so if anybody wants to attend, they can do it. So yeah, I'll definitely do some more of these, and hope to see you again. Cool. All the best to everyone, and yeah, good luck working through whatever it is you need to work through.